Right now, as you watch this video, a pulse of light is racing through a glass thread, thinner than a human hair, sitting at the bottom of the ocean. That light is carrying your video, your messages, your bank transfers, and almost nobody on Earth knows this is even happening.
Ask anyone how the internet crosses oceans and they'll say satellites. Makes sense, right? Space feels high-tech, space feels modern. But here's the truth that will genuinely shock you. Over 95% of all international internet traffic, every email, every video call, every transaction between countries, travels through cables on the ocean floor, not satellites, cables. There are roughly 600 of these cables right now, stretching nearly 1.5 million kilometers across the ocean floor. That's enough cable to wrap around the Earth almost 40 times. Trillions of dollars move through these cables every single day. The entire global economy, banking systems, stock markets, government communications, all of it runs on these cables that almost nobody ever sees or even thinks about. This story actually starts way back in 1850, long before the internet, long before computers. Engineers laid the first submarine cable across the English Channel between England and France, and it carried telegraph messages. Just 8 years later, in 1858, the very first transatlantic cable connected London to North America. You want to know how fast it was? 143 words in 10 hours. People were absolutely amazed. For the first time in human history, a message had crossed the Atlantic Ocean without a ship. By 1872, every continent on Earth except Antarctica was connected by undersea cables. Think about that for a second. Before cars were common, before airplanes existed, the world was already wired underwater. Those early cables used copper wire. Then came coaxial cables that carried telephone calls. And then the real revolution, fiber optics. Instead of electricity, fiber optic cables use light, pulses of laser light, moving at nearly the speed of light itself. The same cables that once took 10 hours to send a telegram now transfer hundreds of terabits of data every single second. So how does your data actually make this journey? Let's walk through it. When you send a message to someone in another country, that data leaves your device and travels to a local internet provider. From there, it moves to what's called a landing station, a special facility sitting right at the coastline where the cable physically comes out of the ocean and onto dry land. Here's where it gets incredible. That cable entering the water is no bigger than a garden hose. It carries inside it a tiny bundle of glass fibers, and through those fibers, lasers fire pulses of light carrying your data. As the cable moves into deeper water, it actually gets thinner and lighter. In the deep ocean, far from boat anchors and fishing nets, the cable is roughly the width of your thumb. But in shallow coastal waters where ships pass and anchors drop, the cable is heavily armored, wrapped in steel, almost 2 inches thick. Now, crossing an entire ocean means the signal has to travel thousands of kilometers. Light weakens over distance, so engineers install signal amplifiers every 70 kilometers along the cable. These amplifiers boost the signal and keep it moving, and they run on electricity sent through the cable itself at around 20,000 volts, all the way from the shore stations on either end. When the cable finally reaches the other side of the ocean, it comes ashore at another landing station, and your data continues its journey to its destination. This entire trip across thousands of kilometers of ocean happens in milliseconds. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You might assume these cables are owned by governments or big telecoms. But today, the biggest investors in undersea cables are names you know very well: Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft. They are building their own private cables across the ocean. And the reason is artificial intelligence. AI needs to move enormous amounts of data between data centers located on different continents. And the existing cables simply aren't fast enough anymore. Meta recently announced Project Waterworth, a cable that will stretch 50,000 kilometers, connecting the United States, India, South Africa, and 4 other continents.
It will be the longest undersea cable ever built. Google is building new cables linking Australia to Asia, the United States, and Africa. Amazon announced a new cable project in early 2025. Microsoft is building 3 new cables connecting Ireland and the United Kingdom. Investment in new undersea cables is expected to hit $13 billion between 2025 and 2027, nearly double what was spent in the 3 years before. The ocean floor is quietly becoming one of the most competitive battlegrounds in the tech industry.
But here's the part nobody is talking about, and honestly, it should worry all of us. These cables are fragile. There are between 150 and 200 cable incidents every single year. That's roughly 3 to 4 every week. Most of the time, it's accidents. A ship anchor dragging across the ocean floor, a fishing trawler snagging a cable. But lately, something more alarming is happening. In 2024, several undersea cables in the Red Sea were cut, and internet speeds across India, Pakistan, the UAE, Kuwait, and several other Gulf nations slowed dramatically within minutes. 25% of all data traffic between Europe and Asia was disrupted just from a few cable cuts. Then in November 2024, 2 cables were cut in the Baltic Sea, one between Lithuania and Sweden, another between Finland and Germany. Germany's defense minister said publicly, and these are almost his exact words, "No one believes these were cut by accident." Governments and security agencies are now treating undersea cables as critical national infrastructure, the same way they treat power grids and military systems. Because think about what would actually happen if multiple major cables were cut at the same time. Stock markets would freeze, bank transfers between countries would fail, cloud services, international calls, streaming, all of it gone.
An entire continent could be digitally isolated in hours. We live in a world that feels effortlessly connected. You can video call someone on the other side of the planet in seconds. It feels like magic. But underneath that magic, literally underneath the ocean, are hundreds of glass threads lying on the seafloor in total darkness, doing the quiet, invisible work of holding the modern world together. And they are no wider than a garden hose. The entire internet. Billions of people, trillions of dollars, resting on cables that most of the world has never even heard of. If you found this interesting, you're gonna wanna watch the next video, because the story of who controls these cables and what happens in a real global conflict goes even deeper than this.